So last night I posted a teaser about XML import to brew control, and today I want to detail that a little bit more and show you how to accomplish that. It's not super simple, but once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. I had the pleasure of beta testing some versions before 1.1. Today we are running 1.1. And with 1.1 comes this data exchange service. You do have to enable the service and do some things, but once you do that, then you are allowed to communicate in and out of the device. So the way the syntax works is basically whatever your local IP is, or the IP of the device is. For me, I do everything local to the brew control PC I run on, so it just makes life really simple. So you gotta have your IP address and your port. Once you ask for your globals, now the catches are not really the catch, but what you really have to make sure is that every single data element that you're trying to import, export has to be a global variable. It can't be an inspector, it has to be global. And so you can download a simple add-on extension for, this is Chrome, it's called Restlet, and you can just do simple things like post and get and put, so you can understand your syntax and what you have and how that all works. So you can see when I send this global get command for all the globals I have, it returns all my globals here and what kind of value type they are and all this stuff. So basically for every piece or part of the XML I wanted to import, I needed a global value. So you will see all this. So once you have this kind of syntax, you have a name in quotes, comma, the value in quotes, comma. That's how you're going to start sending things. And so it's not that simple yet because we have to use another program called NodeRED. Now, for those who know about NodeRED, it is an amazing piece of software. It basically allows you to take in any data, send any data, do anything like that. So what we have to do with NodeRED is kind of our interface between XML, the program that's outputting the XML. In this instance, it's Beersmith, and it's got to decode the XML to JSON, pull out the parameters, convert them, and then send them back. So how that works is, what I have is I have this little magnifying glass watching this folder. Okay, anytime a new file with that name gets dropped into this folder, it's going to automatically update. So basically you got to take your XML and you got to create it to JSON, and JSON is the scripting language that the brew control is going to use to get and put its messages. And so once you convert this XML to this JSON, then basically you have to go through this XML file and you have to pluck all the data that you want out of it. Now I have so many variables, so it just takes a minute for this to come up. So when it comes up, I'll kind of show you. So looking through this XML, you have payloads and messages, and one is batch size. So you have to run some script magic to pull out this batch size, format it properly in order for brew control to actually input it. So there's a lot of script work, as it were. I mean, it's no different than really scripting in brew control. It's a little different, but you can see here I got batch size, boil volume, gravity, name, times, water, strike, mash steps, all this kind of stuff. So in the XML, and here let me force inject a XML. So you'll see that there's objects, and so basically these beer parameters, they're getting these objects. So you see your pre-boil volume is 12.64, and there's all these different objects that it's getting from these beer parameters. Now in the global send, basically you're taking these messages you found in beer parameters and you're converting them to something that the brew control can read. So if you remember back here, you can see you have a name and the value. So basically this script right here is converting, or is sending to the brew control. This is it. This is the name of the global. This is the volume, or the value, and it is boil volume, which we defined up at the top. Somewhere in here, wherever boil volume is, right here. So we're saying boil volume equals message.boilVolume, and message.boilVolume was over here in the beer parameters. So that is a little, it was long-winded, but you really gotta basically script what you want to pluck out of this XML. And it could be Beersmith, it could be Brewer's Friend, or whatever other program is outputting XML. You basically are going to have to digest this XML and see what the syntax is, and you're going to have to convert it and do the same thing to see what brew control can take. So if I go back to brew control, you'll see because I forced it, it came in. So I'm going to go ahead, and I have a script that zeroes everything. And so there's some script magic you got to do here as well in brew control to make it all work. But like I said, everything has to be a global. So you can see these are all global. And no matter what it is, if you want to import it or export it, it's got to be a global. So basically how I have this set up is it's a blank slate. Okay, if I run over to brew control, or I'm sorry, Beersmith, I can pluck out a recipe. Let's just do rye IPA. Okay, open up rye IPA, do everything I need to do as far as the recipe is concerned. That part of it is pretty straightforward, and you know, change whatever you need to do, hops, grain, blah 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 blah, your mash profiles, your equipment profiles, and once you do that, you simply save it. And because I have that NodeRED monitoring that folder, all I have to do is right click, export selected, which it's going to that folder that we outlined before, save it as beer XML, double click this recipe, and boom. Once that happens, you know, in the blink of an eye, it's over. It's over here in brew control with everything as far as mash mineral additions and the times, any boil additions and the times, any different mash rests, hops, times, amounts, grain amounts, everything for your brew day. It's imported. Now, so it does take some brew control script work as well. It's definitely not a straight import. I do have another script that is called XML global variables, which kind of breaks out some of the variables and gets them to a better format. Some variables will straight import. Some do need some conversion. For instance, some are only metric, and so you got to do a little conversion from metric to, regular ounces and pounds, if that's how you want your interface to look. So, just some simple script. Then you can, get your normal pounds. The beer XML outputs in metric standard, so that's sometimes you just got to do some work. Also, brew control and the XML don't really love times, so you got to do some time magic as well, and do that. So you can see here that I have inspectors, and my inspectors are the actual value of the global. And I found to do the inspector, brew control doesn't like to do inline math with actual global variables. It gets wonky. So if you do like a mash rest one, temp value +5, it doesn't really like that. But if you do an inspector mash step 1 temp +5 or whatever, it seems to like that a lot better. So other than that, I mean, you can see all my different inspectors are these global profiles, and that way I can do inline math or do anything I want with that. I'll show you how easy it is to do an import and how quick. So actually I'll go back here and zero this out, and then we'll select a different beer. We'll just select speckled heifer. We'll go export selected like we did before, and it'll be in that folder by default. Double click recipe, click yes, and by the time we get over there, speckled heifer is already inputted with all its parameters for brew day. So it's really easy then, once it's inputted, to automatically start brewing. You don't have to manually type or input anything. It's just that simple export to those globals. Now those globals are part of the brew script, and it just flawlessly integrates, which is pretty awesome and pretty neat, and it shows you the power of brew control and the power of that data element. So sorry for the long-winded. Hopefully that helps you out. Good luck.